everyone, and welcome to Boom and Gloom, a Columbus Blue Jackets fan podcast where I talk about the boom, the good, and the gloom, the bad, of our beloved CBJ. I'm your host, Anthony. You may have seen me on social media platforms using the handle Whaler Jacket, and I am Ohio's longest-suffering hockey fan. Nobody has watched hockey as long as I have as a Blue Jackets and Hartford Whalers fan, and has seen as little success as I have. I firmly believe I am the longest suffering hockey fan, maybe in the entire Midwest United States. I honestly don't think that's as far-fetched as it sounds. Now I say that for any new listeners who might be tuning in for the first time, so you can, learn a little bit about who I am. But for all you returning listeners, welcome back, and thank you for joining me today. If I sound a little tired, it's because I am. We are the proud owners of a new 9-week-old yellow Labrador Retriever puppy, and she is amazing. Her name is Ripley, and she is just keeping us up, let me tell you, and keeping us busy nonstop. But it is all worth it. All right, let's get into it. Lots to talk about today. The Blue Jackets season, the 2024-2025 season, has come to an end, unfortunately. Missed the playoffs by one win. One win. If they had just won one more game, then they would be playing the Washington Capitals right now. And here's something else. All right, something I didn't notice until I saw someone posted this on Reddit yesterday. The Jackets ended up being just 2 points out of third place in the Metro Division. Yep, just 2 points behind the New Jersey Devils. So that means 1 win away from being a playoff team, 2 wins away from finishing in third place. That's pretty amazing to me. I mean, the team said they wanted to make Johnny Gaudreau proud, and I believe they did. Yeah. And that's where I want to go today. A mostly positive spin on the Blue Jackets season. Let's think back to training camp. The Jackets had just suffered an unimaginable tragedy with the loss of Johnny Gaudreau. They had a new coach, new GM, plenty of new faces. Did anyone see them doing this well? I sure didn't. I mean, if you had said that they would be in the playoff race until April 16th, if you had told me that they would be still alive the day before their last game of the season, I would have said you were crazy. There was no way the Jackets would be that successful this season. No way. And yet, they were. This was truly a special season. I'm 48 years old, and I've been a hockey fan my whole life. And I can honestly say that this season was something special. After the last game against the Islanders on FanDuel Sports Network, they showed a season-ending highlight video. And I'm not going to lie here, okay? I got a little emotional watching it. I mean, looking back, what a season. I mean, I don't know the players and coaching staff personally, obviously, but I felt proud. I felt proud of them. They overcame so much adversity, and they provided so much entertainment. I mean, I can honestly say that I can't remember enjoying watching an NHL team as much as I have enjoyed watching the Blue Jackets this season. They were so much fun to watch. And sure, there were some bad stretches, I won't deny that. But as a whole, if you look back at this season as a whole, it was an absolute blast. And it just absolutely sucks that it had to end without them making the playoffs and to get oh so close. It's a weird array of emotions that I'm experiencing, and I'm having a hard time putting it into words. I'm sad, bummed, disappointed, and even frustrated that they didn't make the playoffs. They had it in their hands, and they blew it. Yet at the same time, I'm so happy for what they accomplished, and I'm so excited for next season. And for the record, I hate it that of all teams, the Montreal Canadiens and Patrick freaking Laine got the last playoff spot. I've hated Montreal since my days as a Whalers fan, when they were in the Adams division. They're in the Adams division together, and the Habs would usually take it to the Whalers. Claude Lemieux, he can kiss my butt for knocking the Whalers out of the playoffs in that Game 7 overtime in 1986. That's one of my first hockey memories. Dean Evason was on the Whalers at that time, by the way. So yeah, I've hated the Montreal Canadiens since then. There are only two teams that I hate more at this stage of my life, and I'm very happy to say both of those teams are out of the playoffs, the Bruins and the Penguins. But anyway, I digressed a little bit there. I just wanted to kind of explain why it hurts more that it was Montreal who ended up getting that last spot. One thing I do not want to do, though, is look back at particular games and say, if we'd only won this game, we would be in the playoffs right now. You know, there are plenty of games the Jackets should have won, and they didn't. That's hockey. I would rather focus on the fact that it was probably the 2 or 3 long losing streaks that they went through that ultimately did them in. That homestand where they were 0-4 and scored a total of 1 goal. Things like that are devastating and ridiculously hard to bounce back from. To make up ground in the standings, very difficult. The Jackets had a rough March, and that ultimately cost them. But I'm going to make a possibly controversial comment here. You know what really kept the Jackets out of the playoffs this year? Well, all right. It was a mix of things, but if I had to pick one thing that above all resulted in the Jackets not qualifying for the playoffs, it was goaltending. Sure, the defense could have been better. Defense could have definitely been better. Sure, you could argue that the forwards could have helped more defensively. Sure, you could say that maybe some different coaching strategies should have been used. Sure, you could say their power play was awful, and it was. But I stand by what I said. Goaltending is what ultimately cost the Jackets this season. If they had just league average goaltending, this episode would be all about the Jackets competing in the 2025 playoffs. Instead, they have begun their offseason, and in my opinion, goaltending is mostly to blame. Other elements to blame too? Yeah, absolutely. Not denying that. But what ultimately drove the nails in the coffin? Subpar goaltending. Elvis Merzlikins and Daniel Tarasov were simply not good enough. It took an AHL goaltender to come in and give his team the chance that the Jackets had at the end of the season. So that's a nice little segue here into a question I would like to ask. Have we seen the last of Elvis Merzlikins? I'm fairly confident in saying we have seen the last of Daniel Tarasov. He's gone. In my opinion, he is done. But what about Elvis? He has 2 years remaining on a contract that is way too much money for what he is giving the Jackets on the ice. In his postseason press conference, Don Waddell was asked if they were looking at buyouts, and he firmly said they were not. So one might say, oh, Don Waddell, he's not going to look for a buyout. Well, here's the thing, all right? Would he really say yes in that situation? Would he really throw one of his players under the bus and say, heck yeah, we're thinking about getting rid of some players, or heck yeah, we're going to get rid of so-and-so? No, absolutely not. Don is way too classy, way too professional of a guy to do something like that. So he gave an honest answer. They are not looking at buyouts right now. Right now. So that could change. I think he's going to try to trade Elvis first. Like he'll try to trade him, but if a good trade does not materialize, I think at that point then yeah, he'll look to buy him out. Either way, I am confident saying Elvis will not be with the Jackets next season. Not as confident as I am about Tarasov, but I'm fairly confident. It will be Jet Greaves and a new player, probably a veteran, brought in by Don Waddell. And speaking of that press conference, Waddell also mentioned wanting to bring back Fabro and Provorov. This perplexes me, and I've talked about this before in other episodes. It seems like everyone agrees that the Jackets need to add some defensive help for next season. Not a complete overhaul, but they should definitely, swap out a few parts for others. But that's what confuses me. In order to get, you have to give. And if Waddell wants both Fabro and Provorov back, who does he trade? Werenski and Matejchuk are locks. They're not going anywhere. You just extended Christensen. You have a complete anvil and an anchor in the form of Damon Severson's contract. And you have Erik Goodbranson. That's 7 defensemen right there. So something has to give. Someone has to go. So I'm just really perplexed by this situation and really, really interested to see how it plays out this summer. I still think Provorov walks in the end. He'll get a nice deal somewhere else. Just my prediction. Then, either Fabro signs somewhere else, or he signs with the Jackets, and in which case we see Goodbranson or Christensen get traded. Of course, if Don Waddell can find a taker somehow, some way for Damon Severson, well, then my predictions change. But as of right now, that's how I see it. They're the only moves I can see happening in order to improve the defense. Going to be a very, very interesting offseason for sure. All right, for my next segment, I kind of wanted to share some notes, facts, interesting tidbits of information, and just some thoughts on a variety of topics as this season is now in the books. Number 1, why was the Stadium Series jersey not worn again? Detroit did it. Why didn't the Jackets? If you've heard me before or listened to any of my previous episodes, you may remember that I love that Stadium Series jersey. And I wasn't the only one judging by the number of people who I saw at the games wearing that jersey. It was a huge hit. Why not wear it one more time at home? Like, maybe even for the last game. Show it off one more time. Give the fans who didn't make it to the Stadium Series game a chance to see it. It was a shame that it was only worn once for an actual game. Number 2, spaghetti with butter. That was apparently Johnny Gaudreau's favorite pregame meal, or maybe just his overall favorite meal. I can't remember. Well, I think spaghetti with butter should be served somewhere during home games at Nationwide Arena as a tribute to Johnny, and then fans can buy it on game nights. It doesn't have to be in every concession stand, but just somewhere in the arena, have a spot where you can order and enjoy spaghetti with butter. Number 3, the offensive output of the Jackets this season was something very impressive. They scored the most goals ever in a season in team history. And I don't have the number in front of me, but yeah, it was a franchise record. And they were the NHL's highest scoring home team this season. They led the league in games where they scored 6 goals or more. Plus, they had 5 20-goal scorers. Monahan was 1 away from making it 6. So that's pretty impressive. And Olivier was 2 away from making it 7. So yeah, that was awesome. Number 4, but now here's the kicker. Okay, they led the league in 6-goal games, but were shut out 9 times. 9 times. 9 times. That's a Ferris Bueller reference. 9 times they were shut out, and 6 of those happened after March 1st. That's just crazy to think about. Here's another way to think about it, okay? Despite leading the league in 6-goal games, they were shut out 9 times, which amounts to approximately 1/9 of their games. 1 out of every 9 games the Jackets played this year, they didn't score a goal. Only the Nashville Predators were shut out more than them. Nashville was shut out 10 times, by the way. It's just crazy to think that they could set a franchise record for goals scored the same season they were shut out the second most of any team in the league. That just baffles me. Number 5, Zach Werenski. Can we just take a step back and truly admire and appreciate what he did for the team this season? He pretty much put the team on his back and carried them. He led them with Boone out with the injury. And I really think he started to run out of gas a bit in March. He found his second wind the last couple weeks of the season, but I think overall he was just worn out. I mean, he led the league in ice time. Playing half of a 60-minute game was nothing out of the ordinary for Zach this year. Plus, he had some other accomplishments. He tied the franchise record for assists in a season, and he had the second most points in franchise history with 82, which tied that garage-loving dude who bolted for New York. So yeah, needless to say, Zach Werenski was a major bright spot for the Blue Jackets this season. And I may be in the minority here when I say this, but I think Boone Jenner should step aside like John Tavares did in Toronto and give the captaincy to Zach. I think it's time for it to be his team. Number 6. Who had Adam Fantilli as a 30-goal scorer this year? Not me. Who had him leading the team in goals? Tied with Marchenko, of course, at 31. Not me. I totally expected him to take a big step this season. Well, Adam Fantilli didn't take a step at all. He took a massive vault forward, especially in the last 6 games. The dude was just absolutely on fire. And keep in mind, he was only playing his first full season after getting injured last year and missing about half of it. I think I can speak on behalf of all Jackets fans when I say I am so excited to see him continue to improve. Some people have said he is a superstar in the making, and I certainly hope so. This team, the Blue Jackets, more than any in the league, I believe, is deserving of a superstar forward. Someone who can routinely be in the top 10 in league scoring. That is something this franchise has never had. Not even Rick Nash was able to do that. He never finished in the top 10 in league scoring. Neither did Panarin in his 2 years here. A quarter of a century into this team's existence, we are long overdue. Number 7, also taking a step forward this year, Kirill Marchenko, tied for the team league in goals, leading the team with a plus 24. And then you had Kent Johnson finishing 3rd on the team in scoring, looking like a heck of a forward in the making. Number 8, and lastly, how about Jet Greaves? When was the last time the crowd chanted the name of a Blue Jackets goaltender? He was absolutely phenomenal during his call-up to finish out the season. And I'm not saying we should anoint him as our savior in goal, or even as the team's starter next year. I'm not saying that. But with his one-way contract, he will be with the Jackets next year. He will be up with the big club. And this was the perfect way for him to end the season. He goes out on a positive note, and now something for him to build on for next season. All right, my final segment for today. Looking back on this season, I want to tell you what I think were the 3 best and worst moves by Don Waddell, the 3 best and worst moves by Dean Evason, and the 3 things we learned this season. So first, the 3 best things Don Waddell did for the Blue Jackets this season. At number 3, bringing in James Van Riemsdyk. Not only did he pop in 16 goals, but he added a steady, veteran, physical presence to the lineup. There's no doubt in my mind that the young players on this team learned a lot from him this year. Number 2, claiming Dante Fabro off waivers from Nashville. Not only did Dante step right into the lineup, he immediately became Zach Werenski's partner on the top defensive pair. He was a steady presence on the back end the whole season. And I really hope he comes back next season. I really do. But honestly, I kind of hope that Waddell brings in someone new, and dare I say better, to play with Zach. And then Dante can play on the second pair with Denton Matejchuk. That's what I would do if I were GM, but of course I'm not. Now, before I say my number 1, the number 1 thing that Don Waddell did for the team this season, I want to say an honorable mention, and that is locking up Matthew Olivier. That guy has quickly become one of my favorite players. 18 goals this year. 18. I doubt we will see that again from him. All right, if I'm being honest, I doubt he'll have that type of year again next year. But I'm so glad he'll be in the lineup for years to come. The toughness he brings, the heart he brings, the energy he brings, just love him in the lineup. Okay, one more honorable mention that I'm thinking of. David Jiricek, trading David Jiricek. I still wonder if that will come back and bite us in the butt in the future, but it was obvious it was not working out here for him. Don got a first rounder for him, so maybe that asset will be used in a trade. Maybe David Jiricek's maybe he's not done helping this team just yet. The verdict will be out on this one for a while, though, whether or not we won or lost this trade. Okay, and now the number one thing that Don Waddell did for the Blue Jackets this season, hiring Dean Evason as the head coach. He turned out to be the perfect fit for this team. I mean, I just can't think of a different coach who would have done a better job. I mean, there's no way to prove it, obviously. I know the rumors say that Todd McClellan was set to be the head coach. He was Don Waddell's first choice. I'm not sure about that. There's no way to say that he would have done a better or worse job, but I don't think any of that matters. I think Dean Evason turned out to be the perfect fit for this team. Okay, now, I just did the boom. I got to do the gloom, right? Now the three worst moves that Don Waddell made. Now, before I say them, I should mention that overall, Waddell has done an amazing job, all right? But nobody's perfect, right? So here we go. Number 3, not trading Provorov. And I know this is a hotly debated topic, but I am of the position that he should have traded him at the deadline and got some assets. That said, I understand and I supported his decision to not make any moves, not to trade anybody away from this roster at the deadline. It made sense, okay? But after they fell apart in March and ultimately did not make the playoffs, looking back, I think he should have pulled the trigger. Not angry about it, but this is just one of those cases where hindsight is 20/20. Number 2, claiming Christian Fischer off waivers. I will address this with one word. Why? He never even dressed a single game for the Jackets. So that just seems like a waste of cash to me. When you had plenty of guys you could plug in from Cleveland if there was an injury. I mean, we had a full roster or close to one when that trade was made. So it wasn't like he was desperate for bodies. And again, if somebody was injured, you could bring somebody up. Remember Putia? I mean, he was a big part to the Jackets at the start of the season. Played a big role. Del Bel Blues, Malatesta, even Brindley. I mean, if injuries got that out of hand, they wouldn't have been fighting for a playoff spot anyway. And at that point, you could plug in any of those younger guys. And the number one worst decision Don Waddell made was trading for Luke Kunin. What a waste. I sincerely think this move was partially responsible for the Jackets not making the playoffs. I'm serious, okay? I really do think it was partially responsible. Why? What did this move do? Well, it kept JVR out of the lineup. James Van Riemsdyk was benched, healthy scratched multiple times to keep Luke Kunin in the lineup. And let's take a look at Luke Kunin's stats. 12 games, Kunin had 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points, and was a -4. He brought nothing to the lineup, in my opinion. He was an average player that did not give this lineup a boost and brought less to the lineup than a JVR or even a Chinnikov or even a Del Belbaluz. And all this did was mess up the chemistry. Just a bad move, in my opinion. And I didn't want to take the time to actually figure this out, okay? So this may be a little off, all right? My memory may be a little off here, but Luke Kunin played 12 games. The Jackets, I believe, won 2 of those games. They went 2-10 with him in the lineup, maybe. And again, I didn't look this up. I'm going by memory here. But the 8 games he was not in the lineup, they went like 7-1 or 6-2 or something like that. He was a disruption to the chemistry. It can't be a coincidence. Those records just can't be a coincidence. But then again, I have to also say that that winning streak at the end was done with Damon Severson out of the lineup as well, and Jet Greaves in the lineup. But it can't be overlooked that Luke Kunin's presence, I think, was a disruption of chemistry and was partially responsible for the Jackets not making the playoffs. And again, the Jackets just needed one more win to make the playoffs. So I really think this was a factor. All right, moving on. The top 3 moves that Dean Evason made this year. Number 3, his gotta earn it mentality. He didn't care about your contract, okay? Looking at you, Damon Severson, if you don't earn it, you're not playing. Doesn't care how much you're getting paid. Number 2, his team-first attitude. And I just love how he professes this during interviews and press conferences and holds the players to it. It's team first. It's not about I, it's about we. I know I'm thinking way back to the beginning of the season now, but I'm pretty sure I remember him saying that he wanted the photos of the players removed from above their lockers because they were photos of individual players, and he wanted it to be about a team. So he wanted it to be group pictures. And I think that's awesome. And the number one thing he did for this team, his system. It certainly looks like it was the correct system to install for this team, especially how it allowed defensemen like Zach Werenski to move up into the offensive zone so much. Without that, I don't think the Jackets are near where they were this year in terms of the standings. Now, the 3 worst moves by Evason, and again, I think he is a fantastic coach. This is mostly just constructive criticism. Number 3, not to harp on the guy, but not yanking Severson from the lineup earlier. Severson didn't play at all, I believe, during the 6-game win streak to end the season. That's not a coincidence either. The dude is a liability. I hate to say it. He's a liability. He doesn't fit. He was a Yarmo hire. He was brought in by Yarmo, and he just doesn't fit now. And I really, really hope that Waddell can come up with some magical solution to trade him. Now, the next 2 go hand in hand. So number 2, playing Luke Kunin. And number 1, sitting JVR. So, all right, so maybe that's a little more than constructive criticism. But those were my big disagreements. I have 2 more, but I wasn't sure if this was more of a GM thing or a coach's thing, or maybe a combination of both. So I have one more good thing and one more bad thing, all right? One more boom and one more gloom. The one more good thing, good decision, was bringing up Denton Matejchuk. He almost seamlessly entered the Jackets lineup. And I know he made some mistakes at times. He's a rookie. He's going to do it. He's going to make mistakes. But overall, he did a fantastic job and didn't look like a rookie. I'm really excited to see this kid get better and better with experience. Now, the other thing, the bad thing, the goaltender situation. I can't help but think if Jet was brought up sooner, or if Tarasov was waived, or if Elvis was benched, I just wonder if Jet played a few more games instead of Elvis or Tarasov, would this team be in the playoffs right now? Now, I know what you might say, all right? You might say, you know what, we got shut out 9 times. That's not on the goalie. Our offense dried up. You can't blame that on the goalie. But I can partially. Okay, when you have a goaltender routinely giving up soft goals, it is demoralizing. It is demoralizing, and I'm going to say this. I see this in my beer league, my adult hockey league. If a goalie's not playing well, giving up soft goals, it's not as fun. It's not. And when you're demoralized, you play different. And even if you're not demoralized, you're still forced to play different because now you're coming from behind. You're playing from behind. You're trying to make up ground instead of just playing your game, your normal game. So yeah, I really truly believe it. My gut says yes. If Jet played more games for us, we would be in the playoffs right now. Okay, to finish this up, 3 things that we learned from this season. And I'm telling you right away, I'm doing this as just having some fun here, okay? For those of you who watch the Jackets games on TV like me, I don't get to attend many games in person, this will make sense to you. The number 3 thing that we learned this year, boring is brilliant. The number 2 thing that we learned this year, Nationwide is so much more than just a great insurance company. And the number 1 thing we learned this season, anything is sauceable. Obviously, I kid. If you watch, like I said, most of your Blue Jackets games on TV like me, you will understand. Those commercials are played over and over and over again at every commercial break, at every game. It got to the point where I was just muting the volume every commercial break. Okay, well, guys, that's a wrap. That's my bow that I've tied on the Jackets 2024-2025 season. Definitely a season to remember and definitely one to build on. It just whets my appetite for next season. I have to say, anything less than a playoff spot next year will be a major, major disappointment, and dare I say failure for this team. It will be a failure. I have faith in Don Waddell to get the team the help it needs, and we shall see if he is deserving of my faith and trust. But so far, so good. This will most likely be my last episode for a while. My next one will most likely be over the summer once the Jackets have made some moves with either free agency or trades. And I'll pop on here and give you my 2 cents when that starts happening. Until then, you can still feel free to connect with me, reach out, talk some Jackets hockey, ask me a question, give me a suggestion for a topic to talk about in a future episode. Just let me know. Find me on Blue Sky or Instagram at WhalerJacket, or simply send me an email, whalerjacket@gmail.com. I would be very happy to hear from you. And if not, then you'll most likely hear from me again sometime in June or July. Seems like a long way away, but as a teacher, trust me when I say, summers go by quickly. It will be the fall and Blue Jackets hockey season again soon enough. I'm very much looking forward to it. Probably more than I've ever looked forward to a following season while in April. This may be maybe the brightest this team's future has ever looked. All right, signing off for now. Have a great summer, everyone. Talk again sooner than you think. And of course, go Jackets.